Ice Museum. Keep on heading in, y'all. Find a parka, buddy. Make some room. We got about 55 on this journey.
Now, I'm going to do something that I only do for my 5 out of 10s and up. So. Alright, I'll bump you up to 7.5.
The Aurora Ice Museum. We were really looking forward to this. It's interesting to me, the artwork that can be done with just frozen water. I mean, the artistry involved in making some of this stuff is just, at least to me, mind-boggling. You know, different tools, different techniques. You get shiny, clear ice or frosted, obscured ice. It's just amazing. When we first showed up, the gentleman behind us here was making a goblet. And what he did is he took a blowtorch and heated the outside to make it crystal clear. And it was amazing to watch the transformation in the ice. And then as we went through the main part of the museum to see where they used clear ice versus opaque ice and the various things they made was just fascinating. It is cold. No matter what time of the year you come up here, they keep this building at 25 degrees year-round so that the ice doesn't melt. So any time of the year you can go up and enjoy this. And there's also 4 rooms that they have. One of the rooms was actually in process of being constructed, so we weren't able to go inside, but the other 3 you can. And they have beds. I'm not sure I would want to, but you can actually rent them and spend the night here in the museum. And they do have a backup room at the hotel in case you don't want to spend the entire night in a 25-degree ice castle. But again, it was really neat to walk through here and see the various artwork they were able to do with nothing more than ice. And thoroughly enjoyed it. Glad we went up there. It's also right next to the Chena Hot Springs because of the weather and a few other things. And on our itinerary and how busy we were, we did not stay long enough to go to the hot springs. It was kind of a cold, rainy day when we were up there. But they are within the same parking lot is the hot springs and the resort and the ice museum. It was really neat to see and glad we were able to make it up to it. This is one of those rooms you can actually rent for the night, and that's the bed. And it looks, it doesn't look all that comfortable to me, and definitely not high on my to-do list, but I know there's some people that would really be fascinated doing this, and hey, more power to you. This room, I really liked the Northern Lights effect they did on here with the changing lights. Really neat. Sit back and enjoy. Fountainhead Antique Auto Museum. When I first started looking at the Alaska trip, this was not even on our radar, but as we did more and more research, it kept popping up. Several other YouTubers we had watched had gone to it, and I was intrigued by it. I love old cars, and it's amazing the car collection they have here. all the way back into the late 1800s, all the way up to about I think the 1930s is about the newest thing they have in here. And once we get inside, you're going to see some immaculately restored vehicles. I grew up in Forest Grove, Oregon, and back in the 70s and 80s, I remember going to the Concours D Elegance at the Pacific University campus in downtown Forest Grove. And it was for cars that were immaculately restored. It's basically a car show. And I looked it up online, and Forest Grove is still doing that annually. So if you're interested and you happen to be in the Pacific Northwest, it's a neat show to go to. And they really go on originally restored vehicles. Walking through Fountainhead, I would say almost every single car in this collection would go to a Concours show and do very well in. The attention to detail in the restoration of these vehicles was just amazing. You can also see by the dresses in the background is they also have vintage clothing, both guys and gals clothing from the same era as the cars. That was really interesting, and I think Sonja spent more time looking at dresses, and of course I spent more time looking at cars. And they really go on rare vehicles. Several of the vehicles they have in here are like one remaining vehicle of that kind, and they haven't. And it's been, again, meticulously restored. When we walked in, the gal greeted us and told us that all but 3 cars in their entire collection run and drive. And looking at their website, during the summertime, you can often find one of these vehicles running around the area, the parking lot area that this museum is located at. We missed that. We didn't get to see any of them driving around, but it was just amazing seeing these. The magnetic car had a big magnet as part of the drivetrain. The rarity of some of these cars was just amazing. This is an old electric vehicle. Ironically, I saw one, I think the same model, or very, very similar to, at the Concours D Elegance in Forest Grove. But that is an early 1912 electric vehicle. So electric vehicles aren't anything new. But again, everything in this collection was just amazing. There was one vehicle here that did not have a starter. When you came to a stop, you would run the vehicle at idle, and it would charge up a compressor, an air compressor. And then it had copper lines going to each cylinder, and when you returned to your vehicle, you pressed the button which released the air into the cylinders, which would turn your motor over and start your engine from compressed air. There was so many vehicles there where they were so unique. That's one of the things that I really loved about it, is it's not your normal cars that you get to see in a place like this. And knowing that all of them run and drive, you saw earlier the shot there in the garage, they're regularly working on vehicles, maintaining them, changing the oil, checking the bearings and the brakes and all of that. This car, Robert Sheldon, made this vehicle from some buggy wheels, marine engine, and initially it was a couple of cut down bar stools for seats. And this was Alaska's first car. And it doesn't have a motor. This is actually one of the vehicles that doesn't run. But it was an intriguing story. I'm not going to get into the story. I guess you'll have to go to Fairbanks and check out the museum. Interesting story about him, though. But just seeing the attention to detail and the rarity of a lot of these cars was just fascinating to me. And seeing some of the technology that was introduced so long ago that is still things you just don't see common today, but were very innovative and new. I've snowmobiled in the past, and I really like that rig. That would be fun to take out. Probably need to stay on groomed trails, but still looks like it could be fun. All the displays were well marked. Interesting stories on so many of the vehicles there. I had to show the video a little bit of this tractor because when you look at it, you go, did that thing actually move? But it did. Interesting, innovative ideas, even way back then. And I did find it very interesting that they had period clothing throughout the museum as well. I saw one dress that looked really nice. It looked like it had a floral print on it, but then you get up close to it and you look at it. It's not a floral print. It was hand-stitched flowers on the dress itself. And just, I mean, my wife does sewing and all of that, and just knowing the time it takes to do stuff like that, looking at that dress and realizing the actual physical hours spent stitching all of that onto the dress, just amazing. I could have spent a lot more time in this museum very easily. You know, you look at rigs like that 1907 Franklin, and I want to know more about it. I want to look at it a little closer and see how everything fit together and worked together. That earlier magnetic drivetrain vehicle, I mean, they had a film there. I think it was a film, but they showed more information about how that system worked, and stuff like that fascinates me, and I want to see more. I want to see how they actually put it together and make it work. And you think back in those days, they didn't have computer-aided drafting. They didn't have a lot of the things we now take for granted when it comes to car manufacturing. A lot of this was done by hand. I mean, when the early vehicles came out, a lot of times that the car manufacturer would build a frame with a motor and a drivetrain, and then you would take it to a carriage maker, and the carriage maker would build the body that you want for it. There was a C-cab old truck in here that was that way. They bought it as a frame and running gear, and then they took it to a carriage maker and had it built the way they wanted. And that was long before it was just the standard, before Ford started stamping out steel bodies and mass producing things like this. But still, the fact that so many of these vehicles look like they literally just rolled off the showroom floor, and knowing that they're running and driving from electric to steam powered to all the different things they had there. It was just amazing. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy this walk around.
Morning. We're here at Santa Claus house. Bring on the Christmas cheer. Santa Claus house, 101 St. Nicholas Drive, North Pole, Alaska. Oh, those are tiles. Hand-painted tiles.
Santa Claus house, North Pole, Alaska. Come on now, how can you not stop? Christmas time has got to be one of my favorite times of the year. Really, really enjoy it. So we just had to stop here.
Imagine that, there's a lot of Christmas stuff at Santa's house. I mean, it is September, we're getting close. Oh, you can't even get very close to him, can you?
As you can see from the red construction fence, they had a lot going on. They have some reindeer in a petting area that was not available because of the construction. This is technically the off season for them. They're a lot busier in the summertime. It's still a lot of fun to stop here and see all the Christmas stuff they had in their store. You know, it looks like it'd be a lot of fun to visit in the summertime and see a lot more of this after they get the construction work done. We had fun, found some really neat souvenirs there, bought some stuff for our kids here at the North Pole. Just had a lot of fun visiting with Stan and Cy here in the store, and it's so Christmassy inside. It was still a lot of fun. September, and here we are with all the Christmas trees, Christmas ornaments, nutcrackers, nativity scenes. They had so much to look at. It was a lot of fun. If you're in the area of the North Pole, I suggest you stop by. It was a quirky little place, but very enjoyable. In fact, later in the video, you'll see that the whole North Pole kind of embraces the theme. And the post office has candy canes outside, and all the light posts are decorated as candy canes as well. It was a fun little town. Wouldn't mind making it back one day.